Welcome to Beyond the Scale, the show where everyday heroes share their stories on how they turn their lives around for the healthier. I'm Coach Brittany, and today's guest is Vince Del Monte. He'll show you how to train for long-term fitness so you can look better as you age. Hope you enjoy. Welcome, Vince Del Monte. I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you. This is cool.
Yeah, no, I really want to pick your brain, get some advice from you, some tips, because I know you know a lot about fitness.
Sure, let's do it.
So, going back a little bit, I know when you before you started in fitness, you were nicknamed Skinny Vinny, right?
Yeah, all through high school, all through university.
Got it,
Yeah.
okay. And what made you transition into fitness after having that nickname?
You know, I always wanted to build muscle, but I was an endurance runner. So all through high school, I ran high school track, high school cross country, and I was really good at it. You know, I went to the national championships for running, for cross country, and I was an endurance athlete in triathlon as well. I went to the world championships there. So I created an identity of being very good at endurance sports in high school and through university. And that's kind of how I dealt with the Skinny Vinny nickname. So I was like, at least I'm good at something, you know. But when I went to university, I ended up living with a number of guys who were all jacked. All right, so these were the guys that all the dudes wanted to hang out with and be with. And these were all the guys that the girls looked up to and admired, right? And these were my roommates. So I never like really knew much about muscle. I saw that muscle gave these guys this like inner circle and this popularity and this confidence, but I never like knew if that was possible for me. And I always had this curiosity of, what if I could transfer everything I put into my running, everything I put onto the track, onto the roads, into the gym? Could I build muscle? Was it in the cards for Skinny Vinny? So I had that curiosity, and I was just living vicariously through them when I went out. Like, these guys didn't have great personalities. I don't know if maybe you remember some of these guys from university or from high school, but I'm like, these girls just like are magnetic, and it's not because of their, you know, their social skills or their comedy skills, you know. So I was like, wow, this muscle, this physique, this muscular body really does a lot for you. So those were kind of my initial inspirations to like, what could I do in the gym?
Okay. And now, at what point was it that you started gaining muscle? Like,
when I graduated from university, I got a kinesiology degree, and I had also finished my eligibility. So two things. One, my running career was over. I had to hang up my running spikes. And then two, I had to start making money in the real world. I had to get a job. So I was entering the fitness industry as a trainer who didn't look like a trainer and without any really need to run anymore. So that's when I did it. At the age of 22, it was the day after I graduated from the University of Western Ontario with an exercise kinesiology degree. So it was May 4, 2002. I remember the day I took my very first before photo with my pajamas on and a shirt, and unshaved chest. And that was like my famous before photo that I took prior to commencing my muscle building transformation.
Got it. And now, did you find it easy for yourself to put on muscle, or was it a struggle for you?
In university, I tried.
Okay.
Like, I tried all the time after cross country season, and I'd go to the gym with my roommates, and I'd do their workouts. You know, the Arnold, one of my roommates, you know, we went right out of Arnold's book, the 2-hour chest workouts, and I was like sore for a week, and no, nothing worked. And I even took the same supplements. I took the protein powders, the creatines, I took all that stuff. Nothing worked. It wasn't until I met a guy in my church after university prior to this transformation, and I met him. He must have heard me praying too loud in the pews because, I you know, began this relationship with him, and you know, I saw this guy who was wearing shorts and a tank top, and he was in his early 40s, but he had these like thick forearms. I'd never seen forearms on a man so thick. And then he had these massive cow calves and then veins running through these like two muscle groups. I'm like, wow. And he just like looked perfect. And I found out he was a natural level bodybuilder in his 40s, and he looked better than most guys in their 20s. And I sought him out as a mentor. And basically, he blew the whole industry wide open for me and told me what not to do, told me what to do. And he gave me this drug-free approach to building muscle. And I did everything he told me. And that became my first muscle building transformation from 149 to 190 in a 6-month span. And that was when I was 22. And then that first transformation changed my life.
Wow. wow. Now, what do you think what type of workouts do you think worked best for you to build muscle?
It was simple. He had me doing full body workouts. I was going high high frequency and low volume. So training the same body parts 3 times per week. So he said, we need to focus on getting your intensity up. It's about quality, not quantity. And that made sense because that's how we train for the track. It's about getting the intensity up and then scaling the volume if you could sustain the intensity. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't need to do 12 sets on chest. I just need 4 really good quality ones. He goes, yes, yes. And then we do that again on Wednesday, but with a different exercise and a slightly different rep range for the different muscle fibers. And then we do that again on Friday, but then a different exercise for the same body part and another different rep range. So I was like, oh, okay. So I hit the same body part 3 times a week with different rep ranges, different rest periods, different muscle fibers. And then I just train hard, recover, train hard, and recover. It's like, yeah, this is like your muscle. And all we're going to do is we're going to beat it up. And then it's going to get smaller, smaller, and then it grows back. And remember, the secret is not just the training, it's the training plus the recovery. That's how you get the training effect. Because I already know you're good at training, but you have to understand the values and the recovery if you're a natural guy. So he really just helped me understand the value of less is more and quality versus quantity and avoiding a concept that we were taught not to do in running, which is called junk miles, right? And if we look at, the whole world of, entrepreneurship today, everybody's obsessed about, the ideas of productivity versus activity. So I went back to all this stuff we're learning about today is, identifying what moves the needle and avoiding the 10%ers and sticking with the 10Xers. This was all ingrained in me early on when I entered the gym. So I built an entire muscle building business, personal training, then online business around this whole concept of less is more. Train hard, yes, absolutely train hard, but more importantly, train smarter. The analogy I use is that most people going to the gym are what we call gas pedals, right? To get from point A to point B. Not many people don't know how to use the gas pedal, all right? Not many people are afraid to hit that gas pedal hard.
Right.
But most people, that's all they know. And I always tell guys, the harder you hit that gas pedal, the better steering you need. So what's steering? It's knowing how to execute your movements in the gym. So that brings in the whole conversation of not what you're doing, but how you're doing it. So how do you execute that movement? And how do we match exercises to your body structure and your injury history and start bringing in the mechanics piece so that you actually get tension into the muscle, that time under tension, which fatigues the muscles so that you actually see a growth response, right? And then the brakes on the car is the recovery piece, all right? So we've got to recover from what you're doing. So I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm really good at the gas pedal. And he really helped me embrace the ideas of brakes and steering wheel. And I built a 7-figure fitness business around these ideas, and then obviously giving people the specifics, the tactics. But that mentality of is very counterintuitive to what the industry teaches, because most of the guys who've got the loudest voices in the industry are also, some of them aren't natural, many of them aren't, or they're genetic freaks. So people just look at their favorite YouTuber, their favorite Instagrammer, and oh, she's doing that, he's doing that. I must need to do that as well, just like I followed Arnold. Well, I didn't know Arnold was also, a genetic freak. Arnold had 18-inch arms at the age of 16. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you didn't have 18-inch arms at the age of 16, you probably shouldn't be following Arnold's workouts. All right. So it's easy to fall in that trap.
Right.
So that's kind of my story. How I carved out an audience. Yeah.
Yeah, I really love that analogy because it's true. When people jump on their fitness journeys, sometimes they tend to just hit that a gas pedal full throttle and just think that's going to get them to their fitness goals, and it's really not. You do need that rest, not only to build the muscle and stay on track with the fitness goals, but also to prevent the injuries.
That's a huge one, yeah. Staying injury free, and that's the thing, with guys. Now that I'm heading into my almost 40s, 2 from 40, which is crazy, but this doesn't become sexy, this topic, until you start talking to guys in their 30s. Anybody listening in their 20s just won't get it. I don't even try. I don't even talk to them until they're in pain, and then they come to me for help. All right, because when you're in your 20s, you're indestructible. You really are. You have hyaline cartridge protecting your joints, and that stuff doesn't get grinded down for 5, 6, 7 years. So guys in the gym in their teens and early 20s, mid 20s, they can literally do everything wrong while wearing an S on their chest, but one day they go to the gym and they don't have that S or the cape, and all of a sudden they can't do anything. And it's because they've beat down their joints to a pulp, and now there's bone on bone, and they can't do the things that they were doing earlier, and now they don't know where to go. So what I'm trying to teach guys is like when we embrace another mentality that I love, which is going the distance. Let's not peak in our 20s. Let's look better in our 40s. Let's look better in our 50s than we did in our 40s. And let's focus on just gaining a little bit of muscle every year as opposed to trying to maximize it and get it all right now. We live in the instant gratification world, right? So getting somebody to embrace slow is fast and fast is slow is very challenging for the 20-year-old to grasp. But if they can grasp that sooner, they're going to beat that guy peaking in their 20s once they enter their 30s and 40s.
That's interesting, actually. Now, how does building muscle differ between men and women?
I find that many females can respond a little better to slightly higher rep ranges. I mean, these are generalities. I definitely find that women can tolerate a little more cardio, and it's okay because they like doing it as well. But when it comes to like sculpting the body, for the most part, I do know that a lot of women are fine doing more like the metabolic circuit kind of workout because it's a little more fast paced. You sweat a bit more, but there's not a lot of like massive differences. There's not really many things where like, oh man, oh my gosh, you're doing that. Oh my gosh, it's so far off. Like the variations are so small, they're so marginal that it's pretty hard to like be like way out in left field, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
There's more like just tweaks that we can make, maybe certain exercise selections based on a body part she wants to sculpt. So maybe she wants to focus on the hourglass figure, so we spend a little more time on the shoulders and on the butt. For example, my wife, she worked with a female trainer for 6 weeks, a top physique competitor, really smart one. She knew what she was doing. And all Flavia trained for 6 weeks was butt, butt, hamstrings, and shoulders.
Oh, okay.
She didn't train her chest, she didn't train her arms, and she looked absolutely amazing. I'm like,
nice.
she just focused on those body parts that the female wanted to enhance because, you know, when you want to develop a body part, it's all about frequency, time under tension, as long as you're recovering from it. But we want to train the muscles to recover faster, right? And if you're dispersing all this volume over all the body parts, then you're unable to specialize. So it's really coming to the gym with their goal, knowing what do I want to be in 6 weeks from now with my physique? Where do I want to be in 12 weeks? And then designing the program around those body parts, because your body only looks as good as your weakest link. All right, so really we want to look at your body and try and figure out, you know, what's missing. Is it side shoulders? Is it biceps? Is it upper pecs? Is it calves? Like what's the one body part if we just bring it up a bit, your whole body will look different. And then, you know, like Arnold said, you know, he's like, I'm like an artist. I put a bit of here, I put a bit of here, but that's essentially the mentality you want.
Okay.
So, I wouldn't say there's a lot of big variations. Resistance training, you know, 3 to 6 times per week. You know, good quality weight training sessions, anywhere from like 20 to 65 to 75 minutes, like depending on who you are, your activity level. And then some interval training, some slow go cardio. I come from the school of thought that these are all tools, right? So again, there's nothing that's really right or wrong. It's just what's right for you right now based on what you did prior and where we're going. And let's just rotate the tools in the toolbox.
Got it.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to, like, I know myself and family members, things like that, it's hard for stubborn belly fat. Do you have any tips on how to lose stubborn belly fat?
Fat's just simply stored energy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's stored energy. And actually, we just heard a great speaker who gave us 2 words that will change your life. 2 words that will change your life. Remember tomorrow. Remember tomorrow. You know, so when you're at the party and everybody's drinking wine and you want to get that belly fat off, remember how you're going to feel about it tomorrow. All right? When you feel like missing out on the cardio and you want to go home, cut the workout short, remember tomorrow. And if you just like drive that mentality of that, thinking about where you want to go, then you'll start making those better day-to-day, minute-to-minute decisions. So again, it really comes down to discipline. My definition of discipline is deciding between what you want now and what you want most. So it really comes down to, do you want the cake that badly now that you're willing to forego what you want to look like when you go to the Royalton in Mexico with your spouse, your partner, in a couple weeks from now, and you're going to be taking photos by the pool and you want to snap that sexy, you know, photo, whatever, and post it on Instagram? Which one is more important?
Right.
And it's just having, and again, discipline's another muscle, right? You just have to start flexing that muscle and start making more of those small decisions, and always ask yourself, remember tomorrow.
I really like that, actually. I think I'm going to put some Post-its up, write that on my bathroom mirror, so that way, you know, it just becomes ingrained in me, and I can always ask myself that.
I think another thing, I mean, if we can go down the physiology route, but change your environment. I always tell the story, like, I'm from an Italian family, and I love eating out. I'm the guy, if we go out and eat tonight, I'm going to get the mixed drink to start, and then I'll probably get a second one, then I'll probably get 2 bottles of wine, and then I'll get an appetizer, then I'll get a main, and then I'll get the dessert. I'm always gonna get the dessert, and I'll tell the guy to keep the bread coming, all right? There's no limitations when I go out and eat. I live large, I love eating, all right? Now, this became a habit of mine where whenever I go out, I can't stop eating. I'm like started gaining weight on my belly, and I've never struggled with belly fat before, ever in my life. And I was having a hard time breaking this habit until I met a professional bodybuilder, a man that makes his living stepping on stage and walks around like 280 pounds with low percentage body fat. And he's actually in our Empire Mastermind, Ben Pekulski. He's become one of my great friends, business partners. And when we went out for dinner, I would watch him interact with the waiter. And he would ask the waiter, you know, is the chicken steamed or is it grilled? Do you guys use butter, or what oil? What kind of oils do you guys use? When you do the broccoli, can you put the butter on the side? You know, I'm listening to him take control of what's going to go in his mouth, as opposed to opening the menu and looking at all the other options and getting bossed around from a menu and a waiter on what he should put in his mouth that night. And I'm like, I'll have what he had. And I just realized I can do this, but it's my environment. So people can do it, but they need to be around people that are making those decisions they want to make, and they'll make them much easier. Right. You don't want to be the one guy in the group that's, you know, going crazy on the food when everybody else is ordering clean and you're trying to do it yourself. You're just going to follow suit. So that's one of the biggest things people can do, is to monitor their environment, their social settings. And just be, even if you just start having dinner or lunch with just one fit person a week, and you just, maybe get the San Pellegrino water instead of the mixed drink this time, you know, tell them to hold the bread this time and just get some extra protein or extra veg, or just start making better decisions, whatever that looks like for you. And then it'll start coming over time, come naturally, you'll feel better. And then you look better, and all of a sudden, you start to realize I am in control. Right? And again, my biggest advice for somebody who's having a hard time losing body fat is likely because they have some sort of metabolic issue, and it's because they've tried to lose the weight too fast in the past. And one of the best, like, I had a hard time losing weight when I gained a bunch of weight, and I grew up skinny. And all of a sudden I got in this position where I had this pot belly I couldn't get rid of. And my coach gave me, I'm a product of extremes and like deadlines and transformation contests and trying to do a lot in a short window of time, which resorted in a lot of extreme methods. And what I've discovered is that extreme methods always result in extreme disappointment, right? And the secret to weight loss is to coax the weight off and your body will respond. But when you try and force the fat off, your body will react. So we want to avoid the body from reacting negatively and storing fat when we try and do something too quickly. And we want to take a coaxing approach. And this all goes back to losing weight slowly. So my coach, I hired a guy to help me with my nutrition, and he said, I refuse to let you lose more than ½ pound per week. I'm like, Ryan, ½ pound a week? I got to go to Vegas soon. I've got a trip coming up. Give me ½ pound per week. I got to speed this thing up. It's ½ pound per week. You've been struggling with this all these years. Give me a year. A year? A year? Dude, you're 37 years old. What's the big deal if you just put 1 year aside to fix this problem for good? I mean, you got a good point. So he's like, remember tomorrow. Remember tomorrow. I'd actually have that then. He says, I want you to lose ½ pound per week on average. And we're not giving you a deadline. No more transformation contests for you. No more contests for you. We're just going to lose ½ pound per week. And guess what? I brought my weight down from 220 down to 203, and I stay around that all year round with ease because I came down slowly. I didn't do anything extreme. Now I can stay there. I built habits and had a lot more flexibility in that process. So one of my best pieces of advice to people that are struggling to lose their body fat is to go slow and focus on ½ pound per week on average, maximum. The slower you go, the better,
Okay.
because it'll be permanent. Fast fat loss is fast rebound, guaranteed, every single time. Everybody listening to this knows that, but they've never embraced this slow approach because it's like, but it's not now. It's not instant. Slow equals fast, and fast equals slow.
That's resonating well with me right now, actually, because, you know, I've seen some of my family members go through transformations like that, and then they end up like bigger than before, and it's hard, but that sits very well, and I think that's great advice.
Yeah, I mean, our bodies are programmed to not just, so there's an interesting thing, I looked at some science on this, and your body doesn't know the difference between a diet and starvation. Diet is a man-made word. All right, so when you go into an extreme deficit, all right, so there's two kinds of deficits. Everybody knows when they need to lose weight, there's either a slight caloric deficit or a severe caloric deficit. A slight caloric deficit is like 300 calories below your baseline. That's good. A severe caloric deficit is what most people do, which is wrong. It's like 900 calories below your baseline. Now, what we know is that there's an effect called the anti-catabolic effect in the first 3 weeks of every diet. I describe it like the honeymoon effect. It's like when you meet a new person, a new girl, a new guy, they're perfect, right? There's no flaws with the person. You get all these amazing, you're like, my gosh, why didn't I meet this person before? It's like the new diet. It's like, it works. You lose the weight, you feel great, it's easy, you don't have any cravings. You're like, why didn't I do this before? The weight comes off like that. And every single diet has this anti-catabolic effect. It's when your body hasn't registered the fact that you've been in a deficit, so it surrenders fat easily. And people think, yeah, I'm doing this. No. You're doing nothing. You're in this little deficit and your body hasn't clued in yet. So what happens at week 3?
Yeah.
You hit that plateau and you're like, oh, the diet's not working. No, your body just tuned in to being in a deficit. So now it's slowed down metabolic rate, it's dropped thyroid, it's dropped all these, changing all these functions, increased hunger cravings. Now you're hungry. Now you want to, you'll trade, you'll trade, inappropriate favors with a Cookie Monster. All right, because your brain is telling you to eat, and then you rebound. And what happens is when those calories go back on, there's something called the hoarding effect. All right, so your body doesn't just gain back the weight that you consume in those few meals, it consumes excess because it says, you're an idiot, I'm never doing this again. I don't want to experience this again. So I'm going to store just a little extra.
On to it
just a little extra, just a little extra. Because you've been doing this to me a few too many times. And your body doesn't know the difference between a diet and starvation. So it stores onto extra. And just like you described, you notice family members, they just keep setting themselves back. They set themselves back. So, I mean, there is a solution to this, but the first thing to embrace is slow equals fast and fast equals slow.
Got it, okay. Now, we kind of got to wrap it up here, unfortunately, but I want to know, what does living beyond the scale mean to you?
Oh man, that's a great one. Living beyond the scale. I think to be inspired to chase your your goals based on the person you're becoming in the process, you know. And I think I'm really inspired by a concept called transformation, driven, results. So like you're chasing the results that the transformation gives you, and that's the person you're becoming in the process. Right, so the person you're becoming in the process is ultimately what you want, because it'll be able to be carried into stuff outside of the gym, right? Beyond the scale, right? Beyond starting with the scale thing, a tangible thing. But if you can't do it in here, you can't do it out there, right? So I think if you're embracing become a better version of you in all areas, discipline, commitment, your word is your bond, seeing something through to completion, never ever quitting, all those traits will be carried into your relationship, your business, into life in general. So I think that's where beyond the scale, we're like, if I can just figure this thing out here in the gym, man, what could I do out there?
Right. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now, I know you have a book called Get Living Large.
Yeah.
Where, if any of our listeners wanted to pick that up and learn how to...
GetLivingLarge.com. And it's around that whole idea of don't just live large in the gym, but live large outside of the gym. right? If you can do it in here, why can't you do it out there?
Exactly.
And the gym's a metaphor for life. So for me, muscle was a stepping stone to getting everything I wanted in my life, to the mindset, to the money, to the mission, to the marriage, and it all started in the gym. Right? If you can't transform your body, it's going to be hard to go out and do all those other things. That's why muscle, I have a little framework, the 5 M's of manhood: muscle, mindset, money, mission, and marriage. And muscle comes first because it's the easiest thing to transform. Right? The mindset's harder to change than the muscle. And those other things are way harder than the muscle. So that's why we got to figure this out first. It sets the stage for everything else. The muscle's the silver bullet. It gets you everything else you want in life, because it makes you that person that goes way beyond the scale.
I love that. I absolutely love that. You have so much knowledge when it comes to fitness. If our listeners want to learn more from you, where can they find your podcast at?
Vince Del Monte Podcast Show. My YouTube channel would be great. Just look up Vince Del Monte, and for daily motivation, Instagram. I love posting on there on a regular basis too. And it's all Vince Del Monte.
All right, well, you guys heard it from him. And if you are ready to get your fitness journey started and want to visit a local Fit Body Boot Camp, make sure you visit fitbodybootcamp.com to claim your 3 free sessions. Thank you again, Vince. It was such a pleasure having you.
Pleasure.
Did you know that you could have done a full workout in the amount of time it took you to listen to this podcast? Go to fitbodybootcamp.com to claim your 3 free sessions now. And remember to join me next Tuesday so you can see who our special guest is. Until then, remember to live a fit body, fit mind forever.